Thanks, Russ, and thanks for everyone on the phone for joining what is going to be the first and hopefully a long series of Oracle Cloud educational series that we're excited to deliver. It's an exciting time for Oracle and folks that use applications to further and enhance their business, to become more strategic, more streamlined. It's also a time when a lot of folks are being asked to do more for less, and we've heard that for a couple of years. Why this was an interesting endeavor for us on the cloud is BTRG has been primarily an on-premise implementation services provider with PeopleSoft. And we've kept abreast of the information that's been coming out from Oracle for many years about the cloud products that are coming. And we've all can turn the clock back 4, 5, 6 years ago about when Fusion was going to be released, and it was ready, and then it was delayed, and we kept seeing tricklings of what was going to happen. And then they finally released it mainstream, and it was for general release. A lot of folks took a look at the products, especially on the finance side, and it was lacking in some of the core functionality and some of the complexity that some folks needed on the financial side. We wanted to take this opportunity today because, as hesitant as we were, coming from a PeopleSoft world where you could make a product do whatever you wanted it to do, we looked at the issues that arose with moving to a cloud, something that was less configurable potentially and didn't maybe have all the functionality. Well, lo and behold, even myself, as I used to be a cloud skeptic, has been won over. We're recently engaged with clients that are implementing ERP Financials Cloud, and we're running demos of the product, and the functionality and robustness of what's in the product now is substantially different from where it is 2 years ago. So we thought it was a good idea to take this message and say, hey, you might have looked at the old cloud, the old Financials Cloud, maybe it was called Fusion at the time. It's time to reinvestigate. Some of the issues and problems with the product that were there a couple years ago are now gone. Security is much better than it has been. Functionality and configuration options are extremely robust. Implementation is shorter. Overall cost and ROI is much more tangible now and can be tracked. So there's a lot of reasons we're doing this, and we're really excited about it. I'm on the sales side, obviously, and I've been delivering complex solutions to enterprise problems for about 17, 18 years. So it's good to see this transformation. I think everyone knows that the cloud is coming, and it's at this point real. So we want to take a little bit of time today in the afternoon. We're going to show you some demos that Mark will go through. We'll show you screenshots of the actual product that we have up and running. It'll be an exciting time. Now, we are going to take questions, and if we can, if we don't have time at the end of this, we'll make sure that we reach back out to you directly. But without further ado, let me go ahead and turn it over to Mark to talk a little about the agenda today and what you're going to cover.
Thanks, Troy. So I'm going to try to deliver this, and hopefully I reach the goal. I'm going to try to deliver it truly from my perspective. And when I say that, I want to go through this agenda of, what's a unified cloud? Where's that timeline that we're talking about of this whole evolution of this ERP product? What are the functions? And so I'm going to show from a high level, both in the slides and then actually going into what they call quick tours and also going into real live demo and show you the tools that we could bring to bear and the pieces that Oracle has been doing lately to take this to where I, a person that's been a PeopleSoft person all my life, have now switched to the other side and being called the evangelist of Oracle Cloud for our company. So through that, we'll show you there's multiple ways to navigate. You're going to see things in dashboards that you've seen before in the project or products you're using. And then that modern business processes, that's the piece that we're going to do all the demoing and showing. And then we'll go into a little bit of what's next, but the main piece is that top part. So let's look at it and say, really, what do we mean by unified cloud? So if you look at it, we're talking today about the Enterprise Resource Planning Cloud. And before, if you were potentially in your legacy, you had a database or instance and servers that were on your HR system, and then your ERP system was on another database potentially. You had to do all this integration. You shared a lot of companies did. They shared information from their HR system to the other system, but when I say that share, you integrated it and you shared that information across. But the whole concept with the unified is all that's within the same. And so you see this diagram to the right here. Human resources is moved from one of the blocks that are on the outside to one of the blocks that are directly in the middle. And it shares the information with all these other functionalities and applications. So you got one version of the truth. You set the employee up once in HR, it shares it with everybody else. You make a change to that employee, it shares it with everything else. So you really truly have a unified way that, and when I say share it, it's the exact same table. So that information's in there once and it shares it from that exact same place. So you get out of the box too, you get out of a straightforward single sign-on. So these things are single sign-on from the same place. You don't have to integrate it to your single sign-on application or anything like that. It's built in. Workflow and business processes, same tool, same business process tool across all of it. So you got a really unified way. You do it in one, you can do it in another. It shares information across the reporting and analysis. It has a common self-service area for everything. And the work is removed from the integration and and it lowers your cost from an implementation perspective, because you normally have a tech team that comes in and has to set all that stuff up for you. This product allows you to do it from a functional perspective and with a slight help from tech. So what do we see? We want to give you an overview of what really is in what we're calling the Cloud ERP. And so you have everything you normally see. You got risk management in there. You got a new concept that's sort of floating. It was part of e-business, but now it's also moved over into the cloud, and that's revenue management. And then you also have Accounting Hub, which is part of that coexistence, and maybe you have some other branches, you have other locations that have, or you've acquired somebody and you need to put them into it, and you want to bring all your financials together. Accounting Hub, that's what you would use that for. So now I'm going to take a little time and I'm going to go through that whole timeline. And here's where I'm going to try to give you my perspective on the timing and how I came to the point where I've taken a 20-plus year career and switched it over to the cloud. So let's roll back to release 8. That's where I started. In February 2014, Oracle's talking about the Oracle Fusion applications. It's the next generation of applications. And if you see here, this is straight from their release notes. The main pieces that they were talking about was general ledger and expenses. So from a financial perspective, those are the only two places they were talking. And so I did a review of this at that time. And I actually, prior to that, I had been an Oracle employee when they first started Fusion. So I've watched it throughout the whole time. I took a look at it, and maybe like you did, you went, I don't quite know yet. I don't know if I really want to bet the whole business on moving everything to this product and moving it to a public cloud. Fast forward in the same year, they might have heard the message, and from the point of this is straight from a BTRG and my perspective. It doesn't have an Oracle spin on it. It's our view and our vision into this. Release 9, they expanded it out. And they got the receivables piece in there, they got the payables piece in there. But you do that same review and you're going, well, I don't see a real solid list of who's moving to it, and maybe I just don't have access to it. But our users are comfortable with what we got, and I don't see the effort that we'd have to put in from a training and everything else perspective, we may not be able to get there. So you're still sitting back on the back seat like I was, and you're saying, yeah, okay, that's great. It's advancing. I like what I see, but I'm not quite ready yet. Release 10. This is where we see that knowing PeopleSoft, it was all about user groups, and it was about collecting the information from those user groups and from their clients that had PeopleSoft installed. And what are the majority of those asking for? So where should we focus our time and money and build out functionality that more than just one or two clients might be willing to use? So the evolution timeline here, when they came out with Release 10, this is where they really started focusing on it, and this is my perspective. They started focusing on it from the end user perspective, not from the leaders or the C-level individuals that want to have the best product for their company from I want the most fluid functionality possible. I want all kinds of choices. That's all in there, but they also wanted it from when you move your company to the cloud, we want it to be more of your users are going to want to get in and experience this, and they're going to pick it up, and they're going to want to use it. And so they worked at making the user interface and the way you can navigate around and all the drill functionalities and all that to focus it to the individual that's going to have to do the job using the system. Along comes Release 11. And this was, to me, this was the tipping point where I switched my career on 10, but 11 put it into perspective of, okay, I can get on board and get behind this, and I could become an evangelist, because in version 11, they literally went with all the themes. They continued that user experience. They went for all the modules, expenses, general ledger, and they went for not just little pieces. They went for a lot of pieces that I felt, yeah, I got this in PeopleSoft or I got this in EBS, but I don't quite see it being as mature in that cloud product. This is where that really started really getting to the point where you can walk into a potential client or a potential customer and you can show them and talk to it. And truly, we saw this at Open World. We had videos of our system recorded, and people walked up to our booth and goes, oh, is that cloud? And so you can take that message to a client and a company. You can look at this and you can say, okay, I get it. And yeah, that's pretty intuitive and I can move around. And you can see they went through and they assets, budget control, cash management, and they went with a theme. So the whole theme now is simplify, which is geared straight to that end user and straight to the ability of you to get to the point you need to be to do what you need to do. Control, so they added a lot more compliance in, so now your controllers and your compliance group are getting what they need. Analysis, they're building transactional and balance cubes right in the product. So you don't have to go off and get yourself a warehouse to have the immediate transaction and be able to slice and dice it. They're building what's called balance cubes right in the product. So this is what tipped me and made me from a PeopleSoft to a cloud evangelist. So now I want to give a quick overview of the functionality that we see throughout this product and give it to you from a slide perspective, and then go into the systems itself and show you that it's just not the marketing materials anymore. It's really, truly, it's there. And show you that there's a lot of things you can do in there. One of the things we'll also touch on is there's social networking in there. We'll get into what that really means. So let's look at this thing from a pictorial perspective. It's two pieces. There's a financial suite, which is all those pieces up top in the circles, the procurement, the accounts payable, the reporting and analysis. That's all that sweet functionality that you expect in your ERP system. And from a financials perspective, this is a pretty good setup that you can get and do pretty much everything you need to do. The underlying, which is the red oblong setting on a little bit of gray down there, that's what you really consider to be your platform. And that's that unified piece. That's where everything gets shared from a social, from a mobility, from the integration and analytics. It's the same little tool set, think people tools, but it's the same tool set at a functional level and technical level that gets you all that unified connectivity that you need. Sorry, need a drink of water there. So look, you log into the system, and the first few things you see is what Oracle has termed infolets. What is infolets? Okay, it really is a collection of info tiles, two new words there, right? So infolets are gatherings of information. You're putting things together in a single tile that is, a lot of them, if not all of them, are drillable. And if you look at the left, there's 3 dots at the top here where the arrows are pointing. And those are the way that you can navigate to the 3 different set of screens here right from your home page. And so the first, the springboard is what they've termed it, which is normally your home page in your current system probably, is where when you log in, you can go to your home page there. It has all the tiles that you need to take you to all your applications that you have installed. You'll see some of them that have looks like multiple sheets of paper on it. And that is where there's actually multiple tiles within that single tile. And you can slightly see where it's expanded out there on the very left one. You can see the expansion of 2 within the 1. So then you move to the second dot. Yes?
Hey, quick question for you. I understand that a lot of the folks that are probably on the call are running PeopleSoft, are currently on-prem. From a PeopleSoft perspective, just trying to relate what you'll be leaving from in 2, I know they have work centers in 9.2. Are these configurable like the work centers that PeopleSoft do, and that this is their new work center in cloud? Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So if you think about it, it's 2 things. One is it's what you're getting used to as a dashboard. So that's the concept of collecting them all together. And the second one is that you're looking at it from a work center of, I need to do everything I need to do. So if you looked at it, it's first is your home navigation. The second one, the project management named one, is what you're calling, and that's your work center. And then the third one is where you're in a dashboard type setting because you've got over there to a specific general accounting. And now you're in there and you can drill to the specific things that are associated with your position from the general accounting. So it's taking the best of all the worlds and tying it into one. And then from a configurable perspective, it might be hard to see, but over on the right-hand side, where underneath where it says Martin Sims, if you look below that, you might be able to see that there's a few little envelopes sitting there. That is the area right on the page that you can click on, and it has the full list of all those infolets that are on there available for that page. And you can click them on or off based on whether or not you use them or want them as part of your dashboard. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, perfect. That's neat.
So then, if you look at it, this is the navigation part that I wanted to talk about on the first home page. So if you go up and you hit the home, it looks like a little home on your screen, this is where you end up. The left box, that's the start of your social networking, and it's configurable also. You can show what you want to show in there, and it gives you a quick glance of, hey, is anybody trying to get a hold of me? Is there conversations going on? Oh, am I interested in that? And that's your place to go. Employee news, that actually takes that box and flips it to the backside, and in there you can put company news or employee news, whatever you need. So now you don't have to go anywhere but this page to be able to pick up that stuff, where before you may have to go off, get out of this system, go over to the web, get on your local intranet, and go to the HR page, and then go find out what messages they were trying to send out to you. Here, with that unified tied in, you get it right there in that box. The second thing is over on the right, it shows those tiles a little better. Each of those tiles takes you to a different application function process, whatever you want to call it, in the system. And the ones that are tiled, product management, has 3 tiles within it. So your navigation is pictorial. A lot of people like pictorial. Some people like the old way, where you have either a folder or a list, a bulleted list. So we'll go in and look at that also. So if you look, it's called Navigator. It's up in the top left corner. It's already got a slang name to it. A lot of people call it hamburger. The only reason, 3 bars, 2 buns and a patty in between. But it's going to be interesting to see if that slang makes it up to Urban Dictionary type thing, and it takes on a life of its own. But you get in here and you can see it's not quite like PeopleSoft maybe was laid out, where you had the folders and you open the folder and you see the next underneath it or whatever. But it's got the list laid out. You got the list of everything you really want to do, and that you have to have access, but if you have access to it, it's going to show up here. And you can go through it, and the things you might start seeing is Financial Reporting Center, so you can get your reporting right from here. If you have access to the tools, you'll see the tools over on that side. So you have, from a technical perspective even, you can see that you can come in and see all of that, and I can get to my tools to be able to switch back and forth without ever leaving the system. So it's a little bit from what I say from Oracle's perspective. It seems to be that they get it, that we're going to have to work to convince and to keep people familiar, so that it's not a just total learning curve to move from one to the next. So now, we talked about dashboards a little earlier, and so in this perspective, you still have the tiles. So if you wanted to go to your general accounting dashboard, then the things that you can do from here and need to do from here, if you need to see something in your journals, which is down in the left bottom corner there, you can go up to the tile up top, switch to the journals, and do what you need to do, switch back to the general accounting and keep on whatever else you wanted to do. If you wanted to check on the period close, down in the right-hand corner down there, you can see there's icons within there, and it gives you the actual status of where that is right now. Is it still open? Has it been closed? So from one little stop, you can get a lot of information. If you kicked off, say, a set of reports or something like that that you needed to run, you can even see them on the process monitor. So you can really go into one single page, and it is configurable, and go down through a lot of the things, if not all, that are associated with your job. And then there's also a new, it's basically a menu, but it's called a panel drawer. Over on the right, the panel drawer is where you can click on that little icon. It opens up, and it gives you the set of process navigation that you need to be able to go do the rest of your job. And you'll see in there you can do journals, create journals, all those type of things. You can work on the close. And so they're really trying to pull the information on, because if you're a client and you had this, or you're a customer, you're on PeopleSoft, and one of the things that you hear over legacy over the past is, man, I got to do 4 or 5 clicks to get somewhere. And the pages is changing every time I click. Here, it's all a lot on the same page, and it gives you that access from one stopping point, and it's really a one-click takes you to where you need to go, not a 4 or 5. So now from the social networking, this to me, as a director, that you have to build the team, you have to hire the resources, and as a company, you do the same thing, right? And now you're looking at it from a perspective of the workforces that are coming up now, they grew up with social networking. You got the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, the millennials, all those individuals. A lot of them grew up with everybody's a winner. And so you have to come up with something that engages them and gets them engaged into your company to keep them as a retention. And so this whole social networking, and this is, I didn't research whether Oracle's putting out any kind of message like this, but to me, it makes my job a lot easier because I've got the tools built right into my applications that I need to engage those generations. And so they're going to be way more willing to come in and work on a system like this because they can do things, engage with other people within their department and outside their department. They can inform people without leaving the system. And you could take that whole concept and expand it, and we'll get into that also. So this is what it looks like in the system. And within here, this is how you would select somebody. Rob Fox, that's my boss. I'd select him. I'd start a new conversation. It'd pop the window up on his system, and we could converse back and forth. I can paste a URL in there of where I'm at. He logs into the system. It takes him right to where I'm at. He sees the same thing I'm seeing. So it takes that whole thing and moves it to the next step, where right now you may pick up the phone, you may send an email, you might try to go open another chat window in Skype, and you're going back and forth. Don't have to anymore. It's all within the same system. And so I borrowed this from Oracle, and I definitely put in there that it's theirs. But if you look at it, that's all good. That's all, I gave you my perspective, and it was from getting those next generations to be part of your workforce and then keeping them there. But if you look at it from here, here's a company, CRM Now, that said this thing has actually saved them 60% on emails and 50% on internal meetings. So they're already looking at it and beginning to look at how is it saving us. And those are two ways that I know I get 200 to 300 emails a day. So if I can cut that by 60%, I'd be very happy.
Hey, Mark, it's Troy. Just a quick interjection. As somebody who uses Skype or used to use Skype on a probably minute-by-minute basis, it is neat internally when we went to the cloud products to use this instead of multiple windows up. I guess my question is this, for those that might not know, is this delivered when you buy Cloud ERP or you buy Cloud Financials? Does this come with it, or is this something new there or separate you have to buy?
Nah, this is all built in with it. It's literally just another one of those tiles on your homepage, and that takes you to it. And there's also setup with it, personal setup or company setup, both, where a company can say, here's the 3 or here's the 1 IM capability we're going to use, and that's the only one they make available. So in that case, you can default it, so that's the way it's going to come up. Or if you have 2 and you need it basically potentially because you want it different for 2 different locations, you can go into your settings and you can select which one that works best for you from what your position is. So that really goes through what I wanted to show as part of the slides. And now I'm going to give you, first I'm going to say this, and everybody should understand that we have quick tours. They're hosted on Oracle. They're part of the capabilities that Oracle gives to the partners based on what level you are and makes it available to you. They don't give, they make it available to you. You can check it out and make it, you can get it for up to 5 days, so it is just yours. But for this, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give you a perspective of this is a shared environment. So you might see some screens that take a little bit to go, but you got to realize this is over our network through the cloud, out to the cloud in Oracle, on with shared individuals, and I don't control how many people are in there, But I can also show you that in our system, once you got it set up, you're going to get, and can get, if you don't, because Oracle is doing it from a infrastructure perspective, that you're going to be able to get to where you want to go with your response from your system. But just at least bear with me. If you see some delays, bear with me. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what Oracle calls their instant quick tours. And so they've used a tool that will record this, and it records the capabilities, and I can show you that, you know, they don't do everything. They put a theme with it, and they give partners like us, they put a PowerPoint along with it that can help guide you through it. But you can see here they didn't record the menu, right? But things like employee news, like I talked to you about, they made it so at least you can show that, hey, yeah, I see. This is exactly how it looks, and I'll show you in the system that, you know, you can flip and get your news. And this is your home button I was talking about that takes you back to this page. Or, and you got to be careful here, because if you look at this from you push the dot in the real system, if you hit home now, it's going to just stay here because you really are on what it's considering your home is right now. And so you can also, you know, there's drill down capabilities in here so that you can drill down in. There's notifications, and here's where, say you went to lunch, you logged out of your system, you come back, somebody was trying to reach you through the social networking while you were gone, the notifications show up in that bell up there with the little red circle, and you know somebody's been trying to get a hold of you. You click there, it drops the list, you click on it, you can go right to it. The star up here is something that takes you to favorites and recents. So just like you used to do if you're used to PeopleSoft, left nav, drop the nav, favorites is at the top. You could save your favorites. You could see or get back to some of the places the last few places you navigated. It's now right here on its own, right out here on the star. Accessibility, and then the question mark over here is help. And so what it does is you click that, and then any place that they have built-in help built into the system, and you can add these and configure them and put the verbiage in there how you want, but you can put the help right on the page, right at the place where individuals want to access it. So they also have things where you can drill in, and this shows you the little version or view of what we're calling those infolets. And so this one you can see is selected by the highlighted blue, and it's showing you that, oh, here's the invoice that is associated with that number one. And then you can drill into that, and you can see the actual entry into the system. And you can see that, oh, we have image scanning on our system hooked up to it. So the actual invoice is over on the right. So I can look at it and say, okay, I get it now. And then if I need to do something, I can take care of it. Same way with a recent, and you know, you can set these and configure these, but recent, you can go do the same thing. If there's something on hold in purchasing, you can go with it. So you can set up these infolets on this page. You can configure what you need for your job. You can come to this single page and go, and hopefully, if you set it up right, you can pretty much go and configure it to get to whatever you need to do to get to your job. Okay? So then, I just showed you that stuff. So, okay, Mark, let's really see it. So this is Oracle's demo system that they make available to partners. This is the one that is shared, so I don't have it exclusively. But you can see that everything I just showed you is here. I can show you that clicking on the hamburger brings up the navigation. And so you can navigate to whatever you need in here. You can notice that in here, you can also see, if you can see my mouse, down the left-hand side below costs, there's your concept, dashboard for projects. So you have dashboards throughout this. And this is the one that you might have to hold with me a little bit, but as you switch to the next, hey, must not be as many people on here. But you can see, you can go, this is the one for project financial management. And if you want, you can drill into them. I won't right now, but you could drill into them and you go down through to the actual detail of what makes up these 17 projects. And then from a financial perspective, and here, now this is, you're on that, global, but that really wasn't even that bad either. But in here, you can see that, open subledgers. If I'm the individual that controls opening and closing as part, if I'm running the close, I can close all of them and open the other ones, and I can make sure that it's going to show up here which ones that I've opened, so I can make sure that I've opened them all up. The part about showing you that, your favorites and recents, there's favorites in here that you've saved, and the recents tells you where you've been, and you can click on these and get back to those by, same as a favorite, but as you go navigate around, the list falls off and the next new one comes on. Notifications. So I can have a list of my notifications down in here, and I can go in and click on one of those, and it'll take me to that notification also. And then that help, I'll turn this on now so that when we go down through the remaining of this, we can see that I'll show you where that help shows up. And then this is where I said, and Troy asked the question earlier, okay, is this configurable? And so you can see I've selected the ones with the check mark, but there's a whole lot more that I could put on here depending on what my position is. And through security, it controls whether you can actually put it on there or not. So that's the other great part about having it uniformly connected with HR, is that the security that you give is fully controlled across. And so if I have a person in a department in an organization, I can set the security from the data perspective identical to their organization. And then it's shared across all applications so that I can't get to where I shouldn't be able to go. And then an additional navigation is this drop down up on the right by your name. And this is where you can go in and do additional setup preferences. And that's where I said you could go in, you go into setup preferences, that's where you can go in and make all the settings of, I'm in the US, I'm in this time zone, what journals am I associated with, what business unit do I want to see, so, and it'll only give you a list of which ones you're available to. So you got regional settings. If you're part of sales, right from here you can download the desktop installer for either cloud or for your iPhone or Droid, or the last one, you can, if you have a BlackBerry, you can download that right from here, and then it connects you up. So another thing I wanted to show you, and look at that, ours has a timeout. One of the joys of doing something live. So now you really actually do know that it is live because it actually timed out on me. So if I'm in here, this is my view, and this is our test system. Of course, I'm not, I don't have my production system up here, but this is our test. And so I can show you that, we're in here. And if I want to do some, we have on our list, we want to do some budgeting and we want to do some invoicing, you'll see that from a AP perspective, I can do invoices and billing from receivables, and I can also go into my payables and do invoices in there. So, and I can have it available with us. We're an implementer, right? So a lot of everything we do is associated with a project. And so we associate a contract with that project, and we can invoice directly through the whole project financial management. And so if I was going to do this, I'm going to use the Oracle one because I want to have, our test system we refresh regularly, and there's no real full data set in there. So if I wanted to see, let's do some looking at our payables invoicing. Everybody's going, look at the spin. But if I come in here, you'll see once again, the theme is carried. You've got your infolets here that shows when you're on the one that's highlighted, it's everything down that you want to act on that's listed in there is below. I could go make payments from here with this tile. And I also have my panel drawer that has the other navigation available to me. I can do searches, and I can also do, if I have it set up, I can also graph the information that's up in part of these infolets. And so I could say, oh, I want to go look at this invoice here and see, what's going on with it. Maybe. And so if I go in here and it's saying, oh, you don't have a PO, you don't have the supplier, you don't have the supplier site associated with it, so we got some issues here. And it gives you that information on two different levels. If you see the identifying PO, it's yellow. You don't see a blue star next to it. So it's not mandatory, and that's what that means. The blue star says that's a required field. You must fill it in. And so you can see supplier and supplier site are red. And so that tells you that, oh, I got to fill in two fields that I left blank. And you also get additional information over here saying, okay, here's your error. Click here for the additional details. And you also see that it shows up here that we got one of those helps. So if I click on that help also, it gives me, I'm in the edit invoice, and it gives you an explanation of what this page is expected to do for you. And if you need more help, you click on the bottom, and then it takes you out to the Oracle pieces that gives you additional information. You also can see up at the top, and I'm not going through some of these things only because of time restrictions type that I want to get through a lot of this stuff, but you also have access to that social. Social clicks up another box over to the right side, so you can do that chatting and sharing right from this page. You have the drop down here where you can also say, okay, here, what can I do? So I can actually go in and do tax, funds, do approvals, everything from here once I fill out this information. And see, when you go to leave, it tells you had those errors. So in our system, I wanted to show you what, the social networking, we've been talking about it. So social networking, icon right on your home page. You go to the social networking, and it's going to bring up several things. One is it's going to bring up a wall for you. It's going to bring up an overview. You're going to be able to flag things that you want to keep track of. You can say favorites. You see the stars over here on the right. You can set things as favorites. So this group that Patrick, part of our team, created today, if I wanted to make that one of my favorites, I can just click it on the star. Now it's going to be showing up on one of my favorites. I can see from the right-hand side, I can see, oh, here's the recent activity that has gone on today. Is anything trending? So if we have an issue within the company and I'm in charge of AR, then if there's conversations in the social network trending, that there's one that's been going on since this morning, it'll show up there. I can click on that and takes me over to the conversation, and I can get a quick view of what's going on without bothering the individuals that are actually working on it and taking time away from them getting done what we need to get done. And so you look at this, and it looks a lot like your chat capabilities or your social applications like Twitter and Facebook and everything else. You could put your photo up there. You could build your own wall. You can make changes to this. You can see the people that are following you, all of those type things. And if you have other people within your company that you don't really follow them, but you need them included, they'll show up in your contacts, and that contacts can connect. It connects to your HCM, so everybody's in your HCM system that's working for you. You got access to every single one of them. You can pull them into a conversation when you open a conversation. When you're done, they just drop back out. And so it's not a permanent, or it can be a permanent. You can add them into as somebody you want to follow, so that, hey, I know that they're doing something that affects my job. I want to keep track of what's going on. It's going to pop up in your trending or your recent activity. So the millennials, the individuals that have had the smartphones since they were in grade school, these kind of tools are what I consider a selling point for me to get individuals, and it was for me too, to switch to being able to use this system, because I don't have to have people logging in and out. I don't have to have a bunch of other systems that I switch back and forth to all these others and get to the job done or what I need to do. And it makes that efficiency that you always hear is best practices and efficiencies. This to me is measurable, because you're not switching systems. You're not going to another location to chat. You're not setting a meeting, pulling 10 people into it for an hour, and then they go back and individually have their piece to try to solve. You could do it from a social setting where you got everybody seeing what, and if you're not really responsible for doing something at that moment, you're still keeping track of it, but you can be off doing some other things. And so with that, the biggest thing that I also get from this is I was one that you knew PeopleSoft inside and out. And truthfully, I want to tell you is that, granted, I've got a lot of experience in the ERP systems. And so the system is intuitive. Now, as somebody that's going to migrate to the cloud, I'm going to switch it over to Troy here, but in a second here. But as somebody that, is looking at it and you're going, well, I don't know if I should switch yet or not, but, what's next for me? So come on, BTRG, if you took this time today, is there something that can help me consider, because right now I'm doing my own research. So Troy, why don't you take and give us what you think on this?
Sure, absolutely, Mark, and thanks. That was a ton of good information. And for the folks that are on the phone, we looked at what content we wanted to show during this, and since a lot of folks haven't really seen ERP Cloud yet, we wanted to sort of stay a little bit of high level of navigation, the components, and the social pieces of it and stuff like that. So, as I mentioned, this is going to be the first in a series of a longer webinar educational series. We're going to follow this up with more detail, smaller webinars. We know we don't want to take on an hour each time, but talking about journal entries and allocations and setting up projects and contracts, I think it's important you see how to do those processes and how easy it is to do in the cloud. And so stay tuned for what's coming up. Now, why BTRG does this and what we've learned through our evolution of moving from PeopleSoft to the cloud, there's a couple things that are important. One is, here's how we can help. We've been in your shoes, right? We were on-prem PeopleSoft for many, many, many years before we decided to jump in the cloud with both feet. So internally, we're on HCM Cloud. We run it for sales, we run it for marketing, we run it for financials, projects, contracts, all the above that Mark showed you. That was actually our production environment. So if you've got any information from that, just please erase it. What we've done is we said, how do we help folks that are in the same situation? And we put together a structured cloud readiness assessment, and this is important. A lot of folks are saying, wow, that's cool. There is a lot of new features and functions of the cloud. Now what? How do we get there? How do we see if cloud's ready for us? And we put together these small, short duration projects that we've been conducting at clients to really come up with, are you ready to go there? Are you at a place now, or from a technology standpoint, from a user standpoint, that a move to the cloud would make sense? We've specifically done that around financials and HCM, and we also have a component that is more technical in nature. So we're excited about that one as well. So if you're interested, if you like what you see and you're saying, you know what, I think we might want to take a deeper look at cloud financials and see if it's ready for us, give us a call and we can start the conversation with you of how to engage us in the cloud readiness assessment. The second piece is after you've gone through that assessment to say, okay, the cloud is ready for me and I'm ready for the cloud. Pick a partner, and what we've learned throughout this is you have to have somebody with a cloud methodology for implementing it. It's not as easy as a waterfall method. You don't want to get too far down a specific path before you figured out it might not be that right path. So we've implemented a sort of a spin-off from the Oracle Unified method to implement cloud. And it's more iterative in nature, so we don't go too far down a path without users taking a look at it, seeing what we've done, validating the direction, and then moving forward. So it's, you want somebody with that experience. Also, from a BTRG perspective, we found very quickly that it's just as important to pick a partner or select a partner that understands where you are. So if you're on PeopleSoft, what the PeopleSoft data scheme is, how you're going to migrate that data over, how does that work? It's very important. So if you're interested, if you're at the point after you're watching some of these webinars and you're saying, you know what, I think it's time to learn more. It's a little bit different than bringing Oracle in, than bringing another vendor in. We're going to take your best interest to mind when we sit at the table with you to show realistically what it does. And Mark would probably spin up our production environment again and walk through the process with you. So we're excited.
The test environment.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, even better. But we're really excited about where we are with this and the transformation. I mean, I will tell you, as somebody that was the largest skeptic, and I mentioned that at the beginning of this conversation, I've bought in, and I can't believe I actually sort of shake my head when I say that out loud. It's ready to go. If you're not currently looking to move to the cloud, I will tell you right now, you will be. There's no hiding from it. You will be there, whether it's in 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, 6 years, whatever that may be. I will tell you right now, you will be there. So the bigger steps you take to get there now, the better you're going to be able to utilize it once you get there and utilize the benefits of cloud deployment and the applications themselves. So with that said, I know that was a little long-winded. I didn't want to turn this into a sales pitch for BTRG, but we'd be excited to talk to you. If you have any questions, let us know. All right, Mark.
Yeah, and I just wanted, before we leave the slide, I want to give just a little bit more information on that bullet number 2. And when we say iterative cloud methodology, and we use that same methodology to migrate us to the cloud, but we do a define, we design, we configure, we integrate, and we validate, and we do that in a 5 to 6 week period. So every 5 to 6 weeks, you're getting to see in that validation part what we have configured for you. And when I say that, I'll give you the internal example. The internal example is there's a rapid implementation setup for your GL. And so you put in your accounts and your business units and all the things you think that go with the GL, and you upload it. You can now go in with a few more configurations, and you can create a journal. Now, does it have all the bells and whistles? Do you have the templates with it that fills in the individual segments? No. But you can start seeing the system and the layout and the look and feel and the things that are configurable after 5 to 6 weeks. Now, if you think back to your legacy, and I've said I've done PeopleSoft for a long time, PeopleSoft in the implementation or an upgrade, you can see demo, but as far as if you're already on it and you're doing an upgrade, it can many times be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months before you get to actually get in the system and start testing it. And so our iteration, we go through it and make sure that you have that capability. And the big thing it does, it lowers your risk of, oh, I don't quite like the way that is. Well, you're only losing 4 to 5 weeks of some setup, and it may be just a small piece. So changing it every 4 to 5 weeks really lowers your risk of having to redo things. And so that is enough from that perspective. So the next thing is that, we want to go and show you that stay tuned, because at the beginning we said this is going to be a series. Here is a list of, and this isn't all-inclusive, but here's a list of things that we're going to bring up in the future. So we said that unified reality we want to take a deeper dive into ERP and HCM and how they're working together. Inside, we didn't show you any reporting, but there's a whole financial reporting center. There's real-time reports in there, and there's reports in there that are delivered that if you license the cube capability outside of the planning transactional cubes, if you get a data warehouse connection with it, it has all the delivered reports already built in there in the same info tile and all that. So we're going to go into a deep with that. We use project portfolio management, and it's not just for project organizations anymore. So that'll be one where we look at it, it's going to go across a lot of industries. The revenue manager I spoke about earlier, we're going to do a deeper and show more of the social and call it the social order. Yeah, it's built in. And then, yeah, the last one is that iterative cloud solutions, and that'll be part of our workshops also, but it gives you more, it's going to give you more of an in flavor into, okay, they said we're going to be able to do that, but let's see it. If you're like me, I'm the one that says, let me see it. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Troy for the very last.
Thanks, Mark. And again, we appreciate your time today. It looks like we only have about 2 minutes here to wrap up. We invite discussions about this. Again, we understand we've been in your shoes of folks that have run on-premise for a long time, and maybe you've questioned the ability of the cloud to handle your business processes or complexity that you have internally. You know, if nothing else, if you're not going to go through with an assessment, at least call us, and we can tell you what we've learned and what we've seen at clients as they move forward. We have the ability to demo this stuff for you pretty quickly, and you know, and show you from our perspective where the positives and where the negatives are and what you have coming. But we're excited about the product. Like I said, it was very difficult to win over a lot of folks within our organization that have 20-some years of experience with PeopleSoft product. And saying that now the cloud is ready for prime time was a big step, and that's where we're at. So it's an evolution for BTRG. We have an internal cloud practice that Mark leads, and we thank him for his time today. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out either myself, Troy, or Mark directly, or just contact BTRG. Take a look at our website. You can reach us there as well. But we invite that discussion. It's a good time to start it. Like I said, you might not be there tomorrow, but you will be. And I would probably lay money on that at some point. So we thank again for your time today. Let us know if you have any questions. And Mark, thank you very much for a lot of insightful information today. We're excited about it and what the future holds. And also stay tuned. As Mark mentioned, we have a lot of stuff coming up. You know, make sure you're on our marketing list and check our website every so often, and follow us on LinkedIn. And we'll make sure that you have the information you need to move forward. So with that, I have a little bit of time left. Actually, no, I don't have any time left. Have a good afternoon, and we'll be in touch. And thanks again for your time today.